How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The star falls. Its light swallowed by the earth's caress. Keen hand it turns, and stone gates grind.
Absolutely. Grind away, stone gates. Welcome back, truth seekers and pilgrims. The journey continues, and the road grows darker. The light of truth never dims. So if you're here, that means you are not satisfied with the surface level narratives spoon-fed to the masses, right? You're here for the deeper story and the real war behind the wars, the truth hidden beneath layers of deception and the unseen forces moving the pieces on the grand chessboard, right? That's why we're Pilgrims Gray. We're not a part of the chessboard. We're not a part of the left-right garbage because we know who's really behind it and they want us divided. And speaking of chess pieces, this week we've got a war escalating in Ukraine that could shake global power structures. We have the Pope's hospitalization. What happens if his successor pushes for an accelerated one-world religion? And Israel's never-ending hostage exchanges. Are we literally watching the setup for a false peace covenant? Maybe. So let's dig in. But before we do, if you appreciate content that actually connects the dots, do you like red pilling the people around you with hard-hitting, unfiltered facts? Then hit the help button below and share this out and support the mission, because every time you do, a mainstream narrative loses its grip on another person. That's right. That's your part in this whole game, this whole war, is when you do that, you're helping to wake somebody else up, whether you realize it or not. Every time you share, every time you help, you donate, you comment, anything you do. Remember, we're fighting an information war, and you're right there by listening on the front lines with us, walking along with your particular pilgrim journey on this planet. Let's make it count. So number 1, Ukraine, Russia in the global power play. All right. So as pilgrims, let's start with the biggest geopolitical flashpoint of the week, Ukraine. President Zelensky just threw down the gauntlet, refusing to negotiate peace with Russia unless, quote-unquote, real security guarantees are in place. Now that sounds reasonable, right? Except we know this guy's a douche. And who's actually going to guarantee that security? We have no idea, right? So the U.S. has sent over $113 billion to Ukraine since the war began. Yet there's zero accountability on where that money goes. I mean, we're starting to get some. We know that Musk is, hound dogging it out and sniffing out where all these connections are. I think they already know. This is just being slow walked to you in the public because they don't want to terrify everybody into a massive panic because they still want control. Both sides still want control. So they're not going to completely freak everybody out. So they're going to slow walk this, and you're eventually going to find out. NATO is fracturing internally, with some European nations growing tired of funding a war with no clear end game. And that makes sense. If I was leader of a country, I wouldn't want to be funneling money into a bunch of BS either. And now a Russian drone strike, right? Near the Chernobyl. If that's not a provocation, what is, right? So, the reality of this situation is that this war isn't just about Ukraine. It's about reshaping global power just in general. And in the meantime, anybody who has a stake in any military money at all, and how they funnel all those funds through various fronts, get rich. If it drags on, Russia and China grow closer, NATO gets pulled into direct conflict, and suddenly we're looking at a world war scenario. And they love that because that makes you easier to control. You look to them as they're something that's going to save you, or the hero on the white horse. So, as you know, because of this and because you're here listening, wars aren't just about land. They are about control. And when you see economic chaos, military escalation, and rising global tension, you have to ask, is this all part of the plan? Because historically, global crises have always been used to justify centralization of power. So, will this be the crisis that finally consolidates nations under some sort of new global system? I mean, we're seeing bizarre renaming of lands, the talking of purchasing and consolidating. I mean, we're just maybe a month away possibly from North American Union. It's really interesting to see how fast things can come together that seem to be taking forever to congeal. For those who know what's coming and know what I'm talking about, it's very interesting times. If you don't know, then you're in the process of getting red pilled, and you'll do some research and you'll find out, because this is just a short 15 to 20 minute, although last week's was 35, sorry about that. It's just a short top 3 stories of the week. If you really want to get in depth, then tune into us on Mondays at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. We upload an hour or longer episode where we go into much greater detail about things. So let's move on to number 2 here. We got Pope Francis, has been hospitalized. And we're wondering, will a successor usher in possibly the false prophet spoken of in Scripture? So the Vatican is in crisis mode because Pope Francis, at age 87, is in the hospital with bronchitis. And while he's stable, if we're going to be honest, he's not getting any younger, right? I mean, 87 is borrowed time for any of us, really, right? So here's the bigger question. What happens if he doesn't recover? I mean, we still have sort of the same problem even if he does recover, because he's definitely all on board on we all worship the same God and everybody moving towards that. So, but Francis has already been pushing for an interfaith alliance. We all know this. He's met with Islamic, Hindu, and Buddhist leaders trying to unite all religions under one umbrella. Strange. He's actively endorsed the Abrahamic Family House, a mega religious center where Christianity, Islam, and Judaism are practiced side by side. Which, by the way, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Everybody should get along. We should all get along. But it's where it's ultimately heading that's the problem. That's all I'm pointing out. I'm glad that people aren't killing each other. It's great. But so is truth. So his papacy has been marked by a radical departure from traditional Catholic doctrine, leaning toward more universalist globalist views. One world government, one world religion, that's what we're looking at. So now imagine his successor is even more extreme. What if the next pope isn't just about unifying faiths, but merging them into something completely new under a charismatic figure that is in the process of saving the world that nobody seems to be able to argue with, right? Who is like this guy and who is able to make war with him? We have a song on our album, is called Crowned by Smoke and Stars, and it is about that figure. A coming figure that everybody's going to think is awesome because he's getting rid of, seemingly, all the evil in the world, and nobody seems to be able to withstand him or outplay him. He's a 4D chess player. He can outsmart everybody, and everybody adores him for it. So, my point with that is that the false prophet will point everybody towards him at some point. So we'll just have to wait and see if it'll be Pope Francis or somebody who succeeds him if he should pass away, which obviously we don't want him to pass away. I'm not saying I want anybody to pass away. I'm just pointing out that there's a lot of things coming together that you should be aware of, right? The book of Revelation speaks of a false prophet who prepares the world to worship the Antichrist. That's the bottom line. And when you hear that term Antichrist, I know it conjures up images of some tyrant, but he's not. That term literally means replacement Christ, or a figure that everybody's going to think is the rider on a white horse coming to rescue you, a Messiah-like figure that is doing everything right and is changing the world for everybody for the better. And that's why everybody follows after him, but he's not what you think he is. You know, like the story of the woman carrying a snake, and at the end of the story, the snake bites her, and she can't believe, why did you bite me? Because I'm a snake, So there you have it. Now, thing is this person will also be able to perform signs and wonders, deceiving the nation. Now, I'm just wondering, could the Vatican's next leader be the one to finalize this global religious deception? And if so, how long before the world is primed to accept a counterfeit messianic figure? I think they're ready right now. And if there is some sort of war that is involved with it, that this person also brings peace about, and the world is brought to the brink of destruction, and he solves it, that's just one more thing. So with that in mind, moving on to 3, Israel, Hamas, and the false peace narrative. Israel and Hamas just struck another hostage deal. I don't know if you're aware of it, but now you are. Israel will release 369 Palestinian prisoners in exchange for just 3 hostages. Now you have to ask yourself, why does this keep happening? This is the 3rd major hostage exchange in the past few months. Israel never seems to get a fair deal, yet it continues playing along. And behind the scenes, you've got global powers that keep hinting at a coming peace solution. So I think there's a clear pattern here. Tensions rise, crisis emerges, negotiations happen, and a deal is struck over and over again. But what's the real goal? I mean, could these repeated conflicts be conditioning people to accept a final ultimate peace plan? Or a plan that once in place will demand global enforcement and compliance? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And there could be other issues coming along here soon, too. I mean, if some sort of war breaks out, and let's say Syria gets nuked, or, as a passage out of Isaiah seems to indicate, there could be some problem like that, or, some retaliation and the Dome of the Rock gets destroyed, clearing the way for a possible 3rd temple being rebuilt. That's another possibility. I know there are those who say that it could be built right now because it's not the real site, and that's also another possibility. Maybe if the Ark of the Covenant, the real deal, is presented, which some people are pointing out that Trump seems to have a copy of one, but is it a copy, or who knows, right? I mean, I've not seen it or touched it or whatever, but I mean, that's out there. I'm just letting you know that's not out there. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying it's out there. Something to look up. So, we know that the Bible warns of a final covenant made with Israel, a false peace treaty confirmed by a world leader that begins what's known as the time of Jacob's trouble, or Daniel's 70th week. Many believe it could be the very deal that marks the beginning of that final 7-year tribulation period, that final week of years mentioned in a prophecy in Daniel. And could we be seeing the precursor to that deception happening right now? I think so. I mean, 2 of the biggest warnings that Jesus gave in Matthew 24 is he started it with "Let no man deceive you," and ended it with the same warning about deception, because he knew that these would be times where you don't know who to believe. There's so much lying, and so many people pretending to be good who aren't. All these controlled opposition figures. See, and by that I mean they tell you what you want to hear, and they're telling you all these good stories, and they seem to be, red pillars, and they tell you the truth, and all these things, and you think they're awesome, but their end goal is really to hook you in and then steer the narrative the way the real controllers want it eventually steered. And they'll take their time doing it because they're building up your trust and then trying to change your mind. It's a very old, ancient way of doing things that goes back to the Jesuits, and even before then. They know how to play with your mind. They're experts at it. They've been taught by the best. And we've even dragged some experts over after World War II in Operation Paperclip. Don't think they didn't learn how to manipulate the masses from these people, because they did. So there you have it. That's our 15 minutes. War is chess, religion is shifting, and deception is the game. But you already knew that, right? So if you like what we're doing here, exposing the lies, connecting the dots, and making it entertaining while we do it, then hit that help button and support us. Support the podcast, check out the band, and most importantly, stay awake. The truth is out there, and we'll be here next week to uncover more of it. Don't forget that Monday, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time is our long-form podcast where we go into much greater detail on a subject. And so if you like these news stories, just know that we go into way more detail. And by our band, I'm referring to our band Pilgrims Gray. I will try to start pinning comments with all the websites on there so that you can check them out. I'm going to an interview tomorrow morning, and I don't know when that interview is going to be uploaded. Probably be a few months from now, maybe 90 days too, but I'll let you know when it drops. And that's primarily about our band's new release, 11 Z's. That's the name of the album if you want to check it out. Again, band is Pilgrims Gray, but I'll put the band's website in the description so you can check that out and support us that way if you want. We can use all the support we can get because we all have to work full-time jobs in addition to doing this, just like you and still get the research done and still play our music and still get in the studio, still write songs. And so we work. And that's why every morning I am sucking down coffee to make sure that show is ready for you on Mondays. So until all that happens, keep your mind sharp, your spirit strong, and your music heavy. That's the way I like it. I know some of you may not, but I'm going to let you out on another song we're working on for an upcoming album. This is a rough draft of it, but it still needs way more guitar work and a few other things, but I hope you enjoy it. It is called March of the Grigori.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to chumbacasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa Welcome Bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit chumbacasino.com.